Like an arrow short into the air, Cynthia moved through series of life challenge, from childhood to adulthood, from being orphaned to enduring tempestuous marriage. Accepting her fate, she moved on. Indeed, patiently and perseverance, courage and determination, most importantly, love, are the weapons required to thrive in the wilderness of life.
Into the thick blanket of darkness. When she did not respond to the horn, Boma stopped the car, took out his umbrella and walked towards the strange woman. "It's now or never, Boma," he muttered under his breath. "What are you doing here all alone, without even an umbrella over your head?" "Madam," he asked. No answer. "It's rather late. Where are you going? Are you waiting for somebody, and can I be of any help?" He prodded further. Still no answer from the woman. Strange. He moved closer to her, as if to cover her with his umbrella. As he drew near, he noticed that this strange woman was actually pretty and attractive even in her present state. Boma found himself wondering again what on earth could be happening to this woman. Could it be a mental problem? She doesn't look it. But why is she not talking? Could she be deaf and dumb? He decided to try again. "Madam, I hope you don't mind my interference. I'm only doing my job as a security agent on this street. It is my duty to give account of you as you stand out here now. Please help me to do my job. I have not come to harm you." She turned to look at him well for the first time. As she faced him, Boma nodded encouragingly like he was saying, "Talk to me." Cynthia cleared her throat using her handkerchief to wipe wet face. "I'm Cynthia, going from somewhere to nowhere," she replied. "What do you mean from somewhere to nowhere?" he asked, trying unsuccessfully to hide the bewildered expression on his face. "Exactly what I said, Mr. Security. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm going to sleep here this night. If your law says no, then the law should do its worst." Boma could see the pain in the woman's eyes and sense bitterness in her voice as she spoke. He looked at her hand and saw her wedding ring. Oh God, what is exactly wrong with this woman? A domestic problem, maybe. Boma began to speak to her in a reassuring voice to make her believe he wanted to help her. "No matter what you are going through, remember that you're not alone in it. God is with you. Even though you walk through the valley of pains, God understands. Your pains may be there for a while, but joy comes in the morning," he continued. "You may have been maltreated and abandoned by those you loved and trusted, but you must remember that God has not abandoned you. What you should be thinking of now, not the problem you are in, but how to solve it." Cynthia listened silently as he spoke. The rain had stopped now, and Cynthia looked out of place in her wet clothes and dripping hair. And here was also this man trying to help her. "Are you married?" Boma spoke again. "Yes, I am. I was. For 10 years I have been married without a child. My husband, Idris, lives about 10 poles away from here." "Oh, thank God, it makes it easier for me. I thought you were from a far place and that you were stranded here. Can I take you home now to your husband?" he offered. "God forbid," Cynthia shouted. Boma was surprised. How could a woman refuse going back home to her husband? As she spoke more, Boma realized that Cynthia had been sent packing from her home that evening, and that on her way to nowhere in particular, it started to rain and was forced to take refuge under the tree where he met her. "Can I at least talk to your husband? Just give me the address and phone number. I will talk to him on your behalf." He was hopeful that he could help this woman, whatever her trouble was. The mere mention of a talk with her husband sent goose pimples all over her, suddenly reminding her that she had been standing out in the rain for a long time. She began to shake from cold and opened her 2 arms to plead that he should not think of going to her husband. "Don't bother about me. I am very comfortable where I am." That didn't sound right, Boma thought. How can a normal person be comfortable in this cold? I may be wrong in my judgment. She may really be sick, insane. Boma began to fear for her safety because of the so-called militants who had been terrorizing the city of Port Harcourt for quite some time now. These were really terrifying times indeed, because Rivers State had known no peace since Dr. Ambrose was sworn in as the governor of the state. To make matters worse, Different cult groups were out operating in broad daylight and causing unbearable sorrow and pains to families all over the state. It was like the Nigerian Civil War all over again. People killed for and were killed for fun. Young men carried guns like walking sticks in the streets. Security agencies were overpowered by the sophisticated weapons and superior firepower of the boys. There was fear in the land. Anyone leaving the house prayed to return home alive. The government imposed a curfew on the city and everyone was expected to be indoors as early as 7 p.m. By 6 o'clock, people would run helter-skelter to get home to AVD arrest by security agents. The cultists always chose Sundays to operate. There was no Sunday that people were not killed in numbers. From 2:30 p.m., they would pour out into the streets from God knows where and operate till dawn. Boma was more anxious because today was a Sunday. At this time, no person or car moved around except security agents who moved from street to street, checking the activities of these cultists. Boma was supposed to arrest this woman for breaking the curfew, but here he was instead, pitying her. "So you don't want me to see your husband?" Boma asked again. "Don't even think of it, just leave me alone. I don't want anyone to disturb my peace here," she countered. Cynthia was past caring now and didn't give a hoot about the activitics of the cultists. She didn't mind if they came to attack her. She was ready for the worst. Boma demanded to know of any relations or friends he could take her to at least to sleep for the night. All attempts to get her out of that place failed. The more she resisted, the more Boma was reluctant to leave her alone there. Slowly he walked back to his car and moved out a little further to watch her from a distance. He decided to stay put for the whole nighted of patrolling. Cynthia, on her part, sat under the tree and started to cry herself to stupor. Chewy. At about 2:30 a.m., sounds of gunshots from cult boys rent the air. It was really terrifying and all Boma's senses were on full alert. He became afraid and worried at the same time for Cynthia. As the gunshots continued, Cynthia suddenly realized she needed to be alive. She wished for somewhere to hide. With her hands on her head, she began to recall the incidents that brought her out on the street in the first place as tears rolled down her cheeks. She tried lifting some of her luggage and dropped them back. Where was she going to? Earlier that day, members of the Atama cult group had a serious brawl with members of a rival group, the Etima. They challenged themselves openly on the streets, and the ensuing scuffle sent people scurrying away from the streets. Members of Atama claimed 2 of their members were shot by members of the rival Etima cult. The 2 members who were attacked, Akada and Akete, were accosted along Izima waterside by 4 armed boys. Akada and Akete were not armed because they were returning from the home of one of their lady. Watch out for part 2 of Arrow of Destiny. The story of Amanda is far from over. After the shocking events in Arrow of Destiny, what lies ahead for her? Will she overcome the trials set by fate, or will destiny take an unexpected turn? Stay tuned for part 2 to uncover the twists and lessons hidden in this powerful African folktale. Don't miss it. Make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications so you won't be left behind.